Welcome to the Hercules Tire Sunbelt Basketball Championships. For reminders for our media, those in the room, state your name and media affiliation. Those on Zoom, type your questions into the chat and I'll read those aloud here. We're joined now by Texas State. Coach, would you give us an opening statement and introduce your two players?
To my right is Kennedy Taylor, and then to my left is Jonna Johnson. We didn't play defense tonight, and that's truly, really, that's all I have to say. Not do a good job defending. And the one thing you need in postseason, as a lot of y'all basketball fans know, is to have defense. And we talk a lot about defense traveling. But I'll never let the final game of a season define a season. And what these two young women mean, in addition to the other women on our team, all 14 young women mean on our team, it's a very difficult day in your final game. Very few teams in the country get to end with a win. And like I said, I'm not going to let this define who we are within the season, how well we played in February leading up into this game. But if you want to look at the X's and O's, it was defense. I don't think there's much else to say outside of that.
Open up now for questions. Go ahead, Lucas.
Do I feel like there was a fatigue? There's always going to be a little fatigue because we had to play, right? Kenny had to play a full 40 minutes. We have players that had to play. So do I think that has a direct correlation in the outcome of the next game? Yes. Do I think it's the reason, the only reason why we didn't, we struggled? No.
From Zoom, from Drew King for Coach, what did you see differently, or what did you want to see differently on the defensive end?
Our ability to be able to contain off the bounce, not allowing easy points in the paint. And it's honestly a little more patience offensively because they're a good defensive team, because I put a lot of pressure on our defense.
Go, Lucas.
I definitely feel like I did feel that pressure today. I mean, it's disappointing, with the outcome, but respect to Louisiana, they did do a pretty good job. But yeah, thanks.
Patrick.
I think one of the things that they did do is they did they denied her, and then that forced Jonna and Sierra Dixon to have to be a decision maker. But I think Kennedy makes things easy for a lot of folks on our team regarding scores. With that being said, we did have opportunities to score and the ball then go through the hole, whether that came from Kennedy or Jonna or Sierra Dixon. Shots didn't fall. So that's when you really want to be able to rely on your defense. So when you ask that question schematically, that again was part of it, but that wasn't the only piece of it. Right? And you got to be able to get stops. And if you take a look at how well they shot the basketball and from where they shot it from, I think that lends itself to, we got to do a better job off the bounce.
Couple questions here from Zoom. What are your takeaways, Coach, from this season to move forward, and how do you use this to improve for next year?
My biggest takeaway from this particular season is we went from, when I say we, just talking about basketball coaches, went from a season of COVID to a second season of COVID where, a lot of us had football and soccer and volleyball to watch, and you felt like there's some levels of freedom for your student athletes to, then you hit Omicron, you hit, Jonna didn't have the opportunity to travel. We left 3 players at home in our first opening games on the road, which were actually at the Louisiana's. And the way these student athletes on my team handled it is just phenomenal. If you combine that with just the common sickness and or injury, I thought this team was resilient. I thought that we had our peaks and valleys, but at the end of the day, we had mostly peaks if you take a look at February. And my biggest takeaway from this particular team in the second wave of COVID is that they're resilient. And that is something that anyone can carry with them, whether it be in the workplace or on the basketball court. And that's just a want to and a, hey, let's just keep plugging away. Let's find a way. Let's work through this adversity. And that's what I find from this particular team moving forward. I'm excited about it. You know, I'm a little bit like the players. My plan was for us to be playing all the way through Monday. And so I even told them in the locker room, I honestly didn't have a plan past today outside of scouting. And so I haven't had an opportunity really to kind of sit in it. I'm more sad because I remember it was like a student athlete in my last game for the student athletes who, you know, are done with their eligibility. And, you know, now it's the next stage for them, the next chapter for them. So that's where my mind is right now, more so than looking at the future.
Any final questions? All right, thank you guys.